a time when Australia lost to birds. Back in the 1930s, there was a devastating crop failure in the south of Western Australia. A drought so severe it was named the Without Rain. Now, the Australian government wanted to resettle people on these lands. So they offered cheap farms to veterans of the First World War, hoping that they could bring prosperity to these lands. Now, they did their best, but because of the lack of water and tough soil, it was very difficult. And within a few years, the wheat prices fell apart. Things were looking bad. And then in 1930, an even worse problem arrived. Over 20,000 strong emus flew over from their normal habitat in the outback and landed on the farmlands of Campion, where they ate everything in sight. There was nothing the farmers could do about it except call for help. And soon enough, the Australian Defence Forces were called in to deal with what would become known as the Great Emu War. But the question is, who were the emus? Hi everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to look at the strange true story of how Australia went to war with birds. Emu is a type of large flightless bird found only in Australia. They evolved from ancestors that flew over from New Guinea around 50,000 years ago. These birds evolved differently from ostriches and kiwis, but because of this, they ended up looking somewhat similar. They are incredibly strong, able to kick with a force of over 750 pounds. Even today, they are a protected species because of the danger they pose to humans. Back then though, they were seen as pests. The invasion started when the emus flew over from their normal territory, which is normally hundreds of miles away from where they landed. We don't know exactly why they came here. Some say it was because of the drought. Some say it was because of the food here. But whatever the reason, they quickly caused problems for the local farmers. And when things started to get out of hand, they called for backup. By November 2nd, 1932, a party of soldiers had arrived armed with 2 Lewis machine guns. The Lewis gun was a weapon developed by the US in the early 20th century. It was used by many countries in the First World War, including Australia. The soldiers positioned themselves near the affected areas, just waiting for the emus to come. Then they would unload on them. When the emus arrived, the soldiers felt confident that this would be an easy fight. That is until they opened fire and the emus kept running. While we think it's funny now, this must have been incredibly frustrating for these soldiers. They continued shooting at the birds until they killed around 50 of them. However, despite the amount of damage that the machine guns inflicted, the emus as a whole didn't seem fazed. Just like us humans, they adapted to the situation and started coming in smaller groups, scouting around before running off again. Soon, the soldiers realized that they were facing not a simple pest problem, but an actual war of attrition. And if they couldn't change something, they would lose. And one soldier described his experience fighting the emus. We had orders to shoot the emus, anything to stop the birds from entering the enclosures. The first thing that struck us was their utter disregard for the bullets being fired at them. Bullets spattered the ground around them and even singed the feathers on their necks, yet they never stopped. We watched them go on their destructive way, and we asked ourselves whether we were in a fairy tale or in reality. To say that they were uncanny is putting it mildly. They seemed almost superhuman, uncanny, and absolutely fearless. Even after seeing dozens of their companions drop around them, they seemed unperturbed. Their beady little eyes seemed to mock our efforts, and their strange piping calls were a derisive commentary on our futile efforts to stop them. The emus appear to have studied military tactics. Each group of several hundred had a general, or so we called him. He seemed to have lieutenants and aides too. The general kept his eye on our movements, and any advance we made was anticipated by him. As soon as we uncovered our Lewis gun, he sounded an alarm, which meant instant dispersal of the whole flock in every direction. Once the coast was clear, the generals returned with reinforcements, and the attack was renewed. The soldiers continued attacking the emus, and they continued adapting. At one point, the soldiers managed to corner a large number of birds and thought that they had them trapped. But just as they started to shoot, the emus took off and flew away. Yes, it turns out that while they are flightless, they actually can fly. Although it's unclear exactly how long they can stay in the air for, it's believed that it's enough time for them to get away. Now, we can only imagine the frustration that these soldiers must have felt. After days of battling these birds, their strategy had changed and they weren't having it. Realizing that the emu general was getting away each time, they decided to do something crazy. They mounted the machine gun on the back of a truck and went to chase after the birds. Unfortunately, this plan also failed. You see, the truck struggled to keep up with the swift animals. The gun kept jamming and soon they lost the emus again. And by the end of the campaign, the soldiers had fired 4,000 rounds of ammunition and killed less than 1,000 birds. In the end, Major Meredith decided to pull out of the mission, declaring it impractical to destroy the birds. He added that it was impossible to shoot them all since they were too quick and clever to be caught. Thus ended the Battle of Campion. So what happened next? Well, the soldiers left, and the farmers got on with the job of protecting their farms. They were given ammunition and tasked with doing their best. Later, better fences were built, and the emu problem seemed to have disappeared. But what really happened to those birds? Well, that's a bit of a mystery. Some say that they simply flew back home. Others claim that the drought drove them further west until they found new foods. Whatever the reason, they did leave the area, only to return again 2 years later. But this time, the farmers were prepared and ready to defend their homes. So when the military pulled out of Campione, the farmers began to take matters into their own hands. And for the most part, they were successful. As for the emus, they continued to live across Australia, where today there are thought to be around 60,000 of them. So why should we care about this silly little war? Why is it important? Well, the war tells the story of the Great Depression and the struggle of the farmers who were trying to earn a living on the land. It shows the ingenuity of the animals that showed no fear to the soldiers or the weapons that they had. It shows us how Australia developed and the issues they faced. But it also reminds us to laugh at ourselves and accept when we've lost. After all, it was a group of soldiers with machine guns versus giant birds, and the birds won. So what did we learn? Well, nature is unpredictable. Animals are ingenious, and sometimes you just have to laugh at yourself. Thank you for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Till next video, enjoy your time with History Revealed channel.